deep into the cover story with Dr. Marcea Whitaker. She is the cover girl for the month of April. Dr. Marcea B. Whitaker, there you go, there you go. And we're really diving into a little bit of the conversation with her about refueled and on fire. Dr. Marcia is actually a physician. She's an internist. Uh, Understand that she went to a HBCU. She is also a Black Door Society sister with me as well, and Sharon Morton, who was a cover girl in March. And she also is a soror with Sharon as well. So she has a lot of connections. And yeah, and so she's an AKA, he's a
All
there we go.
right.
There we go. They got a lot of things going on. So there's a lot of connections, pun intended, I guess, YB connects that are going on right now. And so being flexible is one of the main things about being refueled and on fire. Flexible in terms of we had a time change that it said 12:50. It really should have been 11:50. So if you're seeing this live and it's like, well, I thought it was, it's okay. We roll with it. We rock with it. And the other thing too, Dr. Marcia is not necessarily in her home studio. She is actually with another BDS sister, Dr. Dawn Cherie, at an event as well. So she's really in a whole different spot than she normally is, but she rolled with it. She rocked with it. Our super producer, Monet, she kind of set us up right at the last minute to do the things that we have to do. So that's one of the things about just being unruffled when things don't go as planned, and just knowing that things are all going to work out for your good. With that, I just want to say welcome to my co-host, YB, Rob YB Connects. He is with me on the Black Speakers podcast show that we do every second Saturday. One of my favorite things to do around noon on a second Saturday is to be with YB as we unveil all the cover girls or cover stories, because they're not always girls, all the cover stories, and we dive into deep with that. The thing I also want to say is a shout out to Brian Oles, thanking and allowing us for the partnership that we've had over the last 6 years. Really working with him as a partner and collaborator is really important. We probably have had opportunity maybe to meet maybe about 4 or 5 times, but I would say that he is one of my closest colleagues in this world of really trying to uplift Black speakers. The very first time Brian and I talked, we just had a whole conversations about Black speakers and where we see them and how much gifting and talents that they all have, and they just need a larger platform. And so I want to say shout out to you, Brian, because from the idea in your head and to see where it's germinated now is amazing. 14,000 strong. I probably longer, probably more than that now. I'm thinking, but we're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, also streaming on LinkedIn as well, Dr. Marcia. So that's like one of my favorite places to hang out. No, no shade to YouTube or Facebook. I love them too. But LinkedIn, it seems to be me and YB, we know that's where we like to go. So with that, YB, why don't you give us a little bit of background about who you are, and then Dr. Marcia, I want you to kind of give us a brief intro about what you do and your new mission or passion now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, peace and blessings, everybody that's watching all over the country, all over the world. We are truly excited and blessed to have you with us today. This is a lovely, lovely occasion. Sometimes you got to make adjustments, and as Dr. Pam said, you just got to be ready to roll with it. I thought you was going to say lean with it, rock with it. You know what I'm saying? I thought you was going to hit us with the lean with it. But like Dr. Marcia, I had to make some adjustments. The fraternity brothers is like, YB, man, we need you here. I said, no, man, I got an important engagement every second Saturday. I plan my life around this because this is Mama Pam. So I really appreciate it. But yeah, Rob YB Youngblood, member of the Black Speakers Network, Dr. Pam and I, and then several others were a part of a phenomenal book called Speak Up, The Ultimate Guide to Dominate in the Speaking Industry. I got my book here somewhere. So phenomenal book. But you mentioned Brian, he had a major milestone recently, right? He celebrated 5 years of freedom, right? Leaving his full-time job to pursue his dream and pursue this opportunity and growing this network of Black Speakers Network. So we definitely have to pay homage to him. And he's a perfect example of what can happen when you, one, have a dream, and
Mhm.
B, and two, have a willingness to pursue that dream. And we're excited to hear Dr. Marcea share how she has also pursued her dream as well. So good to have you here with us, Dr. Marcea.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you both for this time. And you mentioned how sometimes things go wrong, and we're all entrepreneurs, and those that are in the room that are listening, whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're doing an event, whether you're having a conversation with somebody, there's always that moment where something is going to go wrong. And how you pivot is pivot under pressure is really the substrate of how successful that you're going to be. And so I am Dr. Marcia. I am a physician. I am a life coach, and it pulls me back to medicine, where there was so much pressure, so much stress. You never knew when something was going to go wrong, when was going to code, when somebody's family was now going to want to talk to you. And so it's about pivoting. And so that's what this is all about.
Hmm. I like the fact that you are a life coach, a master life coach strategist. Everyone needs someone that will kind of guide them along. I always say you can either learn by mistakes or mentors. So a coach is really like that mentor that you really, they pour into you, and you basically pay them, because that's what their business is, to really guide them along. But let's go back into your backstory. I had the opportunity to meet you in person. We're both BDS sisters, but we were at Dr. Sherwood's event, I believe it was. It
Mm-hmm.
was SpeakerCon. Yeah, it was SpeakerCon. And you told us a story about how a lot of things began. And I always say a lot of things have to do with our birth order. And I want to say that you were the eldest.
No, I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest. Okay. So a lot of things has to do with the birth order. So you're the youngest. So give us a little bit of background about Dr. Marcia and how you grew up. And if you want to, if it's not too personal, to share what you said about what happened with your parents.
Sure. So I was the youngest of two. I have a sister, and my parents. My dad was a dentist. My mom was a teacher and also a public servant for the Democratic Central Committee. But the thing that happened was when I was born with a birthmark on my face. You can kind of see it. Sometimes I cover it up a little bit just for pictures and things. But it was something that shaped who I would become. I thought it was ugly. I thought people were staring at me. I thought folks were judging me, and it made me feel less than who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm back then. Everyone has that. I call it the flaw. Everyone has that flaw. Mine was this birthmark, and what it did, it made me hide. It made me go on mute. It made me not raise my hand when I had a question or an idea. And what I did is I kind of came within. I kind of shrunk, and I ended up living my life underneath my potential. And so for those that are listening, I want to know, have you lived your life underneath of your potential? And what I ended up doing was realizing over the years that I've been living that same life over and over, you know, and it made me they said I was living dumbed down, but then I had to make a decision to come off mute and to live my life out loud. And one of the things that also happened along the way, and this is what Dr. Pam was mentioning, is that my parents were killed in a car accident when I was roughly around 30. And again, it made me shrink because they were my rock.
Mm-hmm.
And but later on I realized, you know what, I have to take the lemons that life gave me, and now I have to make lemonade. I now get to decide how I want to move forward. I get a chance to unmute my mic. I get a chance to raise my hand. I get a chance to take the mic and tell my own story.
Mm-hmm. And so at that time, Marcia, you were out of medical school. At that time, you were practicing
Mhm, mhm,
full time as an internist,
mhm,
and both of them died suddenly in a car accident together. And you are the youngest, and you are escalating in the whole medical industry. So what happened at that point? What was the trajectory right after around there where you decided to become like the master life coach that you are now?
mhm. Yeah, so that came because of the birthmark process and me shrinking. I ended up getting into relationships with people who liked me instead of people that I liked.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And from that, I was in a marriage for 19 years where I was, um, uh, it was emotionally abusive, and I got to a point where I knew it was killing me,
Mhm.
but I couldn't get out. And it took an incident to say, you know what, this is your moment. Now, this, yeah, you either have to move forward or you're gonna stay here forever.
Mm.
And that place was when I said, you know what, I need to move. I hired a coach,
Ah,
and that coach helped me make the plan to take my life to a different space.
I love.
I also was in a coaching program at the time, and I got to the point where I said, you know what? How can I help other people
Mhm.
get past their most significant struggle if I can't get over my own?
Right. Right.
That,
Exactly.
that was the moment.
Mm.
And then the book that you wrote, which really, one of the things that I tell people, yes, there we go. And I talked with one of your friends the other day, Nick Tinch,
Uh-huh,
who's also in the magazine.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And everybody's born with something. God gives us our own individual, thumbprint and fingerprint. And the thing with you is the mark from birth, which you made a book called Mark from Birth, and this is kind of like part of your platform. Well, Nick, bless his heart, he was on our live yesterday and he was late and he came on and he was just like, oh, and then he said, well, I was born with ADHD and dyslexia, but
Uh-huh.
he's very successful now.
Yes, it
And
is.
when he graduated from high school, he only could read at the second grade level. And I'm like, what
Mm.
did this pass you along? But he had another gift that wasn't seen in the regular way. So everybody has a different gift or a different
Mhm.
mark that's marked them from birth. But
Mhm.
it's what you did is you leaned into it. It's like, okay, this is who I am. This is how I'm going to help other people overcome things that may be holding them back. And so the book Mark from Birth, which is on Amazon, is the catalyst for your speaking career and also your life coaching. When you coach people, what is it the main thing I guess you would say that you're helping them develop or
Yeah.
discover?
So I want to connect something first with the flaw. And this is what I outline in the book, is that your flaw is actually your superpower.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay. So for me, my flaw, my birthmark, it runs in the trigeminal nerve, which for those non-medical, it gives feeling to this part of the face. Okay.
Oh.
And my superpower is that I'm very intuitive. I can hear what you don't say.
Mhm.
I can see what you don't share with me. And so when I'm in a coaching space, it now allows me to lean into you because I know there's something else there. I can
Mhm.
sense it, I can feel it. And
Mhm.
so once I give folks the space to share what's on their heart, now I know what the issue is. And now I can help them navigate the space so they can move forward.
Mm.
I love that. Your
Mhm.
flaw is your superpower. The things that we try to cover up and hide are
Mhm.
really the main things that are the things that God gave us that we just have to
Mhm.
discover how to use it as a way to help others.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
you, YB. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Come on, bring it.
What's your superpower, YB?
It's funny. My superpower is the fact that my father was murdered when I was 2. So it prompted me to become a compassionate connector.
Mhm.
And so, but what's amazing is that if you don't check your superpower, it'll burn you. So
Mm.
my superpower unchecked was me being a people pleaser, right? And so I did exactly what Dr. Marcea did. I hired me a few coaches and they helped to correct me. As a matter of fact, one of my coaches is ET, and he pulled me in a room one time and he said, listen, nice guys finish last. And I remember being in Lansing, Michigan at Michigan State University, hearing this nonsense that at that time, I was like, this is nonsense. I didn't come all the way over here to hear that. I didn't want to hear it. But a coach is going to stretch you and challenge you. And
Yeah.
so now I'm at a place where I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I get to operate in my gift and my superpower of being compassionate, but I'm a lot more direct and I'm able to show love by being direct. I used to think being
Yes.
direct was being
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
but sometimes you got to tell people like it TI is. You got to give it to them straight, raw, no chaser. But sometimes I always start with, do you mind if I put my coaching hat on? Because if they don't give me permission to give that information, I don't deliver that information. Now, if they pay for it, I'm giving it to them because they pay.
Hmm.
But no, that's my superpower is the fact that I'm a compassionate connector,
I love
and I'm able to utilize that as a way to impact lives. I
that.
do have a question. So you mentioned Dr. Marcea, and I'm glad that Pam brought that up. You mentioned the importance of getting a coach.
Mhm.
Was that something that you always knew you needed to do, or were you advised to do that, or did you just know, listen, I need to overcome this hurdle. I had this adversity. I need to overcome this hurdle. I need to get a coach, or was it by happenstance that you was able to, use
Yeah.
that the next step in your journey?
So I wasn't in this space at all, but I knew, I said, you know what? There has to be a life coach. There has to be somebody who can help me. And I did that for decades. I would say for at
Mhm.
least 30 years. I knew I needed a mentor. I needed a coach to help me. But when I go search for one, I didn't see anybody who looked like they could help me, who
Mhm.
didn't look like me, who couldn't understand me. And
Mhm.
part of, so it wasn't until I was in that life coaching space, I'm like, you know what, there has to be a life coach for me somewhere. So I did a search. I found somebody I didn't know. I messaged her, and it ended up being a great connector.
Mhm.
Um, but I knew I needed somebody to help me, and
Mhm.
I became the coach that I needed all those years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what would you recommend to somebody that goes through a life experience? Because you said you didn't find a coach until you actually became a coach. What would you advise to someone who may not be in a coaching situation, but they know they need someone? How would you recommend that they find the right person?
Yeah, there are lots of resources nowadays. I was just listening to one of my coaches. She was saying, the coaching industry is enormous, right? There's different types of coaches, different abilities, different niches. I would probably just go, do a search, do life coaches, and kind of look for your niche. There are some specific coaches, but then there's also general coaches. I'm more on the general coach side, but I also coach entrepreneurs. So if you're looking to, get a consultation, I'm available. But there's also so many other coaches in the world who can help you.
That's
Mhm.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good segue because I had a question about the Girl Boss Life Academy. Is that tied in with your coaching? And if so, can you tell us a little bit more
Look,
about
absolutely. All right. So one of the things that I found as I was, building my business is that I started to resonate with being a girl boss. And as I kind of put that out into the world, I got a lot of different opinions on the use of the word girl. And they're like, what about women boss? What about lady boss? What about, and the thing that
Female
made
boss.
me female, right? And what it made me sit with is that if you because Rob, you mentioned something that happened when you were 2, right?
it? Hmm.
I don't know specifically, Dr. Pam, your story, but you're usually, if you're in any kind of coaching or therapy type environment, the things that happened to you, the way that you experienced life started when you were a child.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so as a girl, right, that is when we had the most power. Okay, when we had the most power. And uh, and I believe that every strong woman is powered by the girl boss inside, who is strong, who is powerful, who is able to get there. And so, what my job now in my mission is to help those women go back to that girl boss power, and then boss up in their life and in leadership.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
strong.
that. I like that Girl Boss Academy as well because that does sound powerful. And it sounds like you're going to be with them for a while. It's not just like, oh, we're going to take a couple of sessions, but you're actually in an academy. How long is the academy?
The Girl Boss Life Academy is it's 12 sessions. and
Okay.
there are renewals. Just depends on
Okay.
where you are, because the thing that the next phase of that is life coaching for business builders, because I believe that inside every woman there is a business inside. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a small business, but sometimes it's a big business. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and so I help those individuals to build their business from wherever they're starting. But I bring in the life component, because most business programs, they don't do life coaching with it. And
Mm.
the life, as we say, life be lifing, the
Yeah.
life part is what takes people out when they're building their business.
Speaking
What's-
of which, you balance being a doctor and a life coach. So when you talk about life be life, and so how do you balance both of those at the same
Mhm.
time? Because going to medical school, practicing, I mean, it's doing all the things. I call it DTM, doing the most,
I
right?
do all the things. And I love that question, because what it comes down to is what your mission is, what your vision is. And I know all of us, we can do amazing things, but we're not called to do all of them, the amazing things. And so
Mhm.
once you connect the thing to the mission,
Mhm.
then it's a no-brainer. There's
Mm.
you handle it, because that's part of the mission. Rob, you mentioned that every second Saturday you're here. You got some
Mhm.
fraternity brother stuff,
Mhm.
that, but you're like, you know what? This is very important to me.
Mhm.
So now it's not a sacrifice. You
Mhm.
know, you're just this is just what you do. The things
Mhm.
that I do is not a sacrifice. It's just things that I do to get help the mission go forward.
Mhm. Good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, I got to bring it out because we talked about it beforehand. We talked about the whole background, HBCU love. Obviously we got First Fam love. But tell me what you tell me about Virginia Union. The Virginia Union is the greatest HBCU. I'm sure you'll be different opinion, but you mentioned having a tie to Virginia Union University, and what my question is, how did your HBCU experience influence your career and your journey, and then feel free to tie in the whole VUU piece if
Yeah,
you don't mind.
yeah. So I am a summa cum laude graduate of University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I went in as the one of the first Richard A. Henson scholars, and he
Mhm.
was a gentleman on the Eastern Shore who was in aviation.
Okay.
And I was a biology major, honor society, all of the things. And that experience, and that's where I crossed Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, incorporated Alpha Omicron chapter. Our anniversary is coming up. Actually, tomorrow is my 35th anniversary
Oh
of
my
being a
God.
part
Come
of
on, come
the
on.
sorority. And my daughter just crossed at South Carolina State University. She's a third legacy.
Wow.
So this is a
That is
very, very
great.
instrumental part of my story.
Mhm.
And from there, I mean, just being on an HBCU, I came from a private all-girls school that was roughly, 15% African American, and those are my closest friends. There's 8 of us, and we are thick as thieves. Okay, but in that experience of being in HBCU, it made my roots go down far.
Mm. Mhm.
Okay, and on top of that, as I was getting ready to graduate, I had a connection with West Virginia University School of Medicine, and I went there on a 4-year scholarship as well, a W.E.B. Du
Mhm.
Bois scholarship. So I believe those touch points were very important for me to have graduated with no debt.
Mhm.
Is something that when I speak to students, I'm like, you know what, this is possible. Okay. You just have to apply yourself. And it isn't so much the applying yourself, it's also the connections that you
Yes,
have.
it
Oh,
is.
and so the connection with the Virginia Union, I mentioned my father was a dentist,
Mhm.
and he went to Virginia Union University for his career. And he was the first doctor in our family.
Wow. Oh my God. That is awesome. That
I
is
love
so
it.
awesome.
Now, was he an alpha though? I just, I just need to know. Like, was he an alpha? Because if
He
so,
was he was not an alpha. He was not
okay,
an alpha.
okay.
He did. We were almost there, almost there.
he, he plans being a dentist. That's what
That's
he did.
right. Exactly,
That is
exactly.
one of the hardest fields. Being a dentist is
Yeah,
really, really
yeah.
hard. I mean, it's
And
very stressful from what
And
I.
on top of that, he didn't go to dental school until he was married with children. I remember
Wow.
being at my father's graduation. It was the hottest day ever.
Get
When I
out.
say ever, University of Maryland in Baltimore, the hottest day ever. It was the most miserable day, but that was a day that my father was able to get his degree. I remember seeing him. Um, he would drive, or hear the stories. He would drive to work because he worked on Bolin Air Force Base with his book, studying while also driving a stick shift.
Mm,
Oh, stick shift.
okay.
Oh, stick
Oh my
shift.
God.
I have no idea how he did it, but his grit is part
Mhm.
of why I'm the way that I am today.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. That's a legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy for your mom and your dad as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So that is thing. So refueled and on fire. That is your mantra. That is the conference. Tell us about the uh the birth of it. Is it the why you decided to do it? What's it about?
yeah. So it started off, I was doing a conference called Girl on Fire, and it was like a birthing of me. Like, you know what? It's like I am whoever it is I say I am. I do the work. I have the affirmations in my head. I also had done a before and after picture. While I was married, I had gained a lot of weight, and I had, after I got divorced and did what I all of the things I could do. I was like, you know what? This is the new me.
Mhm.
And that conference, I ended up not doing it because it turned out that transition was for me.
Oh, okay.
And I rolled that energy over into the refueled and on fire.
Mm.
Oh.
And what happens, I talked about coming off of mute. We all have that story, we all have that experience, but we don't share it. But we have been refueled. We have that energy, and
Mhm.
we have to tell our story. And so I'm using this platform as a way to help those who have a story, who have been through the fire, who have a testimony, and now they want to transition it into something that is going to be a platform for them to share, so that they can now help transform the lives of those that are going to hear their powerful story.
That is good. That kind of goes into what I
Mhm.
really, the story in Speakers Magazine. Dr. Whitaker's transition from medicine to coaching and speaking wasn't merely a career change, it was an extension of her lifelong commitment to healing and empowering others.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that is really what you do. It's a
yeah,
connection with people, your intuitive understanding, which is the gift that God gave you, just helping them understand their struggles and really just being a guide and a hope to people. Yes, there we go, Monet. To really kind of talk about as I'm reading it, right? It's like, what is she reading? I'm reading the magazine. But it's um really springtime is probably the perfect time for you to have this because the blooms are out. So tell us about the name of your company and why you chose it.
yeah. So as I was thinking about the name of my business,
Mhm.
I started, having lots of things. But the thing that came to mind was the flower that is behind me. And if you think about a flower, most of us, I believe, we live closed. Maybe one or two petals are out. Maybe that's our
Mhm.
career. Maybe it's our family. Maybe it's, we're married, and that's how we operate. But there's so much of us that is untapped. And that's, again, living underneath the potential. But I
Mhm.
believe that we should and can bloom all the petals. And so when we are doing that, now we are in full bloom, and
Mhm.
we are living our life, I'm going to say out loud, and in full bloom.
Mhm.
Mm.
In full bloom. That was what I wanted you to say. Like, this is springtime. This is in full bloom. You got the flower. Those are the things and you help other people blossom. That's
Mhm.
really what your platform is, to help other people blossom. I love, love, love this cover. It has the video on it about all your accolades and things like that being featured in different publications. But this one really talks about being refueled and on fire in high gear
Mhm.
and the master life coach and physician and that kind of thing. But when people go to speakersmagazine.com, they can click the online issues and watch all the videos. There'll be some more videos on the inside as well. Let's kind of jump Monet into the inside of the publication and we kind of highlight some of the people that are part of her refueled and on fire platform besides the keynote speaker which will be our BDS sister Sharon Morton. She was on the month of March.
Mhm.
Marcia was on the back of March. But this particular issue in the table of contents, you'll see that we have Nick Tinch, Chris Hampton, Dr. Eric Holmes, Shelley Fan, um, Gloria Betts Caldwell, and then Denise Horge, who wanted to be in this publication as well as an article by Brian.
Mhm.
April is Financial Literacy Month, so Brian wrote an article about financial literacy, the key to wealth building and legacy.
Mhm.
So Brian he's not on the live, but he's always involved.
Yeah.
So you will find his article in here as well. So Monet, let's go to the next page where we talk about our next person that is also part of Black Door Society. This is Natalie Solomon. And it's really funny too, because the connection between you and Natalie, because she has empowering health and lifestyle as well. She's not a doctor, but really her journey of triumph and and innovation really connects with you. So the publisher's page just talks about spring and blooming and that kind of thing because that's Marcia's icon and the name of her company in full bloom. But give us a little story about Natalie that you want to share that people don't really know, I guess you would say, the connection between you two.
Yeah, so Natalie, love her. She is my sorority sister, but she's also my Black Door Society sister. And from the moment we met, we have been connected. And she also has a story of, I guess, women's health that
Hmm.
also connects. And she does a lot in the world with that.
Yeah, she has a public health analyst, and when I say that that is part of her mission because she's gone through a lot. She's had a lot of brain surgeries and things like that. Just a lot of without her going to medical school, she probably knows as much as long as she told me how many times she's been in the hospital and all those things, years. But she's well and she's empowering others. And it's apropos that she would be in this issue with you because you love empowering others as well. The next page is the person that I was telling you yesterday, Nick, Mr. Nick. So, give me a little bit of background. I think he's speaking at your conference, correct?
He is. He is coming up from the Richmond area. He's a real estate developer and
Okay.
also a speaker author. He has an amazing network, but he also has an amazing story. And I cannot wait to hear his message from stage. Great guy. Lots of good information, especially those that are looking to branch out into real estate.
Yeah, real estate development is the thing that he's written like 12 books about fix and flip and that kind of thing. His video is there, but one of the thing I found real interesting was that he's a great speaker. And, and I said this to YB a lot that a lot of good speakers, just like ET, they start
Mhm.
out speaking to kids. And he
Yes.
was a youth pastor.
Mm.
Uh, and so being that youth pastor, I didn't know that, wasn't in the bio, but when we kind of start talking, it's yeah, you speak, and I was like, that's it. I was like, you speaking to kids. That's why his energy is like that. That's why he looks
Mhm.
very youthful as well. And he just has that energy. And I always tell people, I said, if you can speak to kids, you are going to be a good speaker because they ain't going to allow you to be boring. Okay.
Absolutely.
They will fall
Gotta.
asleep on you. They will tell you that you're boring to your I mean, I was
Mhm.
like, "That's that thing." He says, "Oh, yeah, I love speaking to kids." He starts going on, and I'm teaching kids about real estate and wealth building. I was like, "Really?" So, to hold kids' attention, ET did it. Uh,
Mhm.
Stella Toro was a youth speaker. Ariel
Mhm.
Moody, Lisa Nichols
Mhm.
before she started doing motivating the masses,
Right.
she really was motivating teens. That was her main thing. So when you
Mhm.
see Lisa just so animated, it's only because Lisa was speaking to teens way
Mhm.
back then, and so
Mhm.
you have to have that extra kind of an edge about that. So Nick has that as well. So I kind of tease him a little bit about it. I was like, "Oh, that's where that comes from." But he's just gifted in real estate. So he's speaking at your conference. And then Chris Hampton, uh, tell us a little bit about Chris, how you all met, and he's speaking as well, correct?
He is. So what we call Chris Hampton is champion,
Mhm.
and his platform is about personal development and vision. And I met him at the Leadership Experience Tour, and we've been at each other's events, and he has come in to support. He's actually one of the ambassadors for the
Okay.
Refueled and On Fire event.
I love that. I love that. And that is part of taking his name CH and then Hampton Champion. That's so
Yeah,
cute. That is so
yeah.
cute. And one of the things too is that collaboration creates what, YB?
Creates currency.
There you go. I wanted you to say it because that
Yeah.
is what this whole BSN Black Business Network is really about.
Oh
You
yeah.
can be really, really, really gifted, but if you don't learn how to collaborate or ask for help or even,
Mhm.
uh, put yourself in a situation where you're supporting others, you won't be successful.
Yeah.
No one does it alone.
Yeah.
Even Oprah has Gail, right? So you want to make sure that you're always going to have those people in your corner that will be your ambassadors,
Yeah.
people who speak well of you. So
And
that's
I
one.
and I love and I love how you have your team here, Dr. Marcia. I think this is important because as you are visible, the people that are around you become visible, right? And we put people in positions to increase their visibility, their credibility, and their profitability. Now, obviously, they got to show up and they got to show out. But I love how this issue allows for you to run the point, but it opens up like the flower in bloom. You say I did that right now. You like I
Okay.
did.
There we go.
You got all your petals, got all your rose petals right there, right? So I
Yes.
love, I love that, I love that. And then the fact that Nick is from the Richmond area, I might have to holler, I
Yeah.
might have to connect with that dude. I'm right in Richmond, so I might need you to make a connect, Dr. Marcia. I might need
All
to do
right. All right. I got you. I got you.
And in one of the programs that me and YB are in, Ready Set Go Speak, Stacy Hawkins Adams,
that.
which is from Richmond,
Yep.
Nick and Stacy go to the same church. Talk
All
about
right.
how this small world is, how
One
this
Connection.
big world
connection
is so
away.
small.
One
Isn't it?
connection
It's
away.
just that
Yep.
one connection away. It's like
Yep.
really, really, but he's a good
Hmm.
guy. I can see how you guys would really vibe together because of
Yeah.
the way he is. And he's very upfront about his faith, his
Mhm.
Christian faith. And he says
Mhm.
he owes all the success that he has to God, and that's kind of like the way we all are. So you can just see the light in all of the people that she chose to be a part of her conference as well.
Hmm.
So the
Yeah.
next is a center spread, and the videos are in there, and then you just get a bigger picture of the book as well. But I love, love, love that photo. That photo to me says that I'm listening, I'm
Hmm.
endearing. That
Hmm.
it just when I saw that one, Dr. Marcia, I was like, that picture is fire.
Hmm.
And of course the red one, I had to like it. I like that one with the microphone, right? Because I was like, okay,
Yes.
we gotta have a prop because this is what she's doing. But the book itself is something that I want people to get if they can't come to the event, but at least get the book and then basically, know your story, bring you in to speak or even hire you to life coach with them or to be a part of the
Hmm.
Girl Boss Academy. But really, this talks about wrote the story Springtime Renewal Ignites Baltimore. So talking about the blooming and the fire at the same time and
Hmm.
be more. There was one thing, and I didn't see it, and I kept looking for it. Where is the event?
The event is at a venue not too far from the airport. It is actually called unofficially. It's called the Barn because that's what it looks like.
Ah,
But it isn't. You have to have. You can go to the website and actually click on the link, and you'll be able to see the address.
Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. So it's at the barn. It's at the barn.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's in Bmore, in Baltimore. So that is good.
Correct.
And
Correct.
you've had a lot of the videos that are embedded in there as your speaker reels. I think there's a couple of them in there as well. But I want them to read a little bit about your story and your why. Just your
Mhm.
personal resilience is just really commendable, and just most, and it's just super smart too. I mean, did you check it out? The fact it was not cum laude, but summa cum laude. I don't even know how to spell
Hmm.
all that. You know what I'm
Hmm.
talking about? I was like,
Hmm.
but you do want, this is the thing I tell people all the time, you do want your doctor to be super smart, okay? You
Well,
want
yeah.
your doctor to just know. You're like, you don't want to doctor this. You want your doctor to be super smart, okay? So they know all this stuff. So yeah, so I just really, really love this story. And again, they could just go to drmarcia.com as well, just to book you and to find out more information about you.
Hmm.
Follow you online. What's your favorite platform for social media? Which one you like the most or get the
So
most?
I started on Facebook, and
Okay.
so I understand, Facebook more, and so I kind of flow there. But I also post to Instagram and LinkedIn, and I do a little bit of TikToking.
You do a little bit of TikToking. You do a little bit of
Are you
TikTok.
are you dancing on the platform like Dr. Pam? Do you
No,
get your
I,
dancing
I
on?
haven't I haven't come up to her level yet. I'm
Come
still
on,
down.
right?
I'm down here with that.
We're gonna get you on some TikToks with the BDS, because I told
Okay.
you the other day. I said we're gonna do some TikToks. This is why I don't
Okay.
know
Okay.
dances. I said we're gonna just do one take. That's it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna look crazy. No matter. That's why I have my fun. That's where I have my fun. It's like relief for me because I'm just so serious like half the time.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, they got to know that I'm really kind of crazy.
Mhm.
But the next one I really liked. We met. At least I personally met Dr. Holmes. Um, at BSN. He's always on our lives all the
Yes.
time, Dr. Holmes. But I met him. He was actually serving as an ambassador for when Dr. Marcy, when we met at SpeakerCon.
Hmm.
Yeah, SpeakerCon. And he
Mhm.
was there as well. He was one of the ambassadors. So tell us about how you met Dr. Holmes. He's in Baltimore?
He is in Baltimore, and
Hmm.
I was actually on his show last night, Power
Okay.
4.4. We broadcast live, and I had another one of my speakers, Dr. Alethea Tucker, who's also coming for the event. And so how we met is that I was invited by Sean Fair of the Leadership Experience Tour to be on Dr. Eric's radio show.
Okay.
So when he came into town, we went to the studio and we had, we cut up, we jammed to his intro song. And so I'm also going to be going to his event, Power the Pen, that's going to
Okay.
be May 25th here in Baltimore. So very multiple connections. And so that's
Mhm.
Rob, what you mentioned, it's the connections that you make.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. It's
Yep.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he's extremely active and extremely supportive. I love Dr. Eric's his energy and his poise. And let me tell you something. He has more degrees or more awards than most speakers that I know, and I'm just excited about his energy. So I'm glad you two are connected.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking over at the LinkedIn Live. So this is kind of an old thing. So Ronald Hale says, I need to know about the secrets of graduating debt free. Okay. He said that a while ago. He's like, he's stuck there. It's like, I want to know that. How she graduate debt free in
Yeah.
medical school as well. And then Maria Simonetti says, hey folks, great conversations. Thanks for joining us today. And then someone over there and says, yes, my flaw is my superpower as well. So I'm just not getting to these. And then the divine widow whisperer said, finally, she says, I finally made it here. So yeah, we try to bring it all together. And then Simone Prince, she says, but I use that as motivation. She says she has a shuddering problem. I think stuttering problem. But I
stuttering.
use that as
Mm-hmm.
motivation.
Hmm.
So all the things that we have to overcome are things that make us stronger.
Yeah.
uh that is just one of the things. I don't really have like a story per se, other than the fact that I know my grandmother only had like a third grade education, and I don't
Hmm.
even, my grandfather, I in first grade, but they were my role models. And I just know that I'm the only child, so I was the only grandchild, I guess you could say. I just, they felt like I could do anything. And I remember growing up a child in the 60s in the Motown, I said that I want to be like very Gordy. You know, they were like, "You can do that," you know? And so what would happen is that I would live next door to a child prodigy. Her name is Kim Jordan, and I felt like I was her very Gordy, so to speak. I would be the one that would promote her and, make sure that I would have, like, events in the backyard, and we would charge money and have people come in. Yeah, it was that kinda thing. So it's like, it's no reason that I would not be in PR, like, from a child, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just always had that push from your grandparents thinking that you could do anything and that kind of thing. And they had a house, they had a car. I mean, we're talking about people that just really one generation from slavery. Like, you know, and that just always was just inspiration for me to just dream bigger, do better, do more for the legacy for my grandparents and that kind of thing. My mother was the first person to kind of go to college. She went to secretary school. She was a secretary. My dad was a mailman, you know. And so for me to graduate from a 4-year university and do those, that is just like I got to do more, you know,
Hmm.
just for the legacy of the shoulders of who I'm standing on. If they can do what they did, it's like it ain't no excuse for you, Pam.
Amen.
You know, that's my thing. So anyway, so
Mhm, mhm,
that's
mhm.
one of the things where you're talking about what you use in your background that is for black people. I mean,
Hmm.
they're just knowing our history. You all went to HBCU, so you all
Hmm.
learned a lot of your history. I didn't go to a HBCU, but just
Hmm.
knowing your history makes you stronger. It's like,
That's
wow,
right.
you know, you know I have things that I have to do because of the shoulders who I stand on. So Shelly Fan Fan, I love saying her name, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Tell us about how you met Shelly Fan Fan.
Yeah. So I met Shelly Fan Fan in the hallway of in Detroit at the Leadership Experience Tour. And she and I have a connection that is like none other. She is coming to my event as my lead MC.
Okay,
She
okay.
is a radio and TV personality. She is an emotional intelligence coach. She
Mm.
Hmm.
is a licensed therapist.
Wow.
And she's also the CEO and founder of Teach Me How to Heal, which
Mm.
is a conference. It's a conference and retreat that helps women to heal from trauma.
Ooh.
And when I say this conference, it's a hands-on, practical. She has brings all the modalities in from dance and meditation, and she brings in practitioners, and I am one of them. And when I tell you, she curated these events
Mm.
that are powerful, impactful, and the
Hmm.
women leave healed.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. That seems to be a lot that I've heard lately, or I don't know
Hmm.
whether I'm just attuned to it, but trauma.
Hmm.
Who are getting over trauma. Explain trauma. Trauma is not the same as drama. So explain
No.
trauma. Is trauma like rape or incest? I think of like Elizabeth Smart. That was trauma. She was
Mhm,
abducted as a teenager, and she was just for
mhm.
months, for 9 months, and you know, just that's trauma. But explain the typical type of trauma that we're talking about that I hear so much about.
So I think we start there. It isn't typical trauma. So there is the rape, there's, murder, there's,
That's
incest, there's those things where there's no what do you call it? There's everyone can understand that's
right,
trauma.
right,
Hmm.
But
right.
but what I think is happening now is that we're broadening the definition
Mhm.
and understanding how maybe you being adopted is also traumatic.
Oh,
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Sometimes you being the middle child is traumatic.
Hmm.
Maybe it is your parents got divorced,
mhm.
traumatic. Maybe your parents are separated and your dad says he's coming to get you every
Amen.
Friday and he doesn't show up.
Hmm.
Mm,
Okay.
that's oh,
Maybe your trauma is you're told to be seen and not heard. Okay. Maybe you
mm,
were told no in your life. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but
it's
those traumatic episodes determine how you see yourself,
Hmm.
how you see the world, and how you experience life from there.
okay. So it's like the stories that you live through and then you continually tell yourself.
Hmm.
The things that I went through a program called Landmark, and it talked
Yeah.
about stories. and the things that you have the stories that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that those things are traumatic. If you keep saying it over and over again, it's just
Mhm.
like creating it over and over again every time you give energy to it.
Right.
So that could be that. So I thank you for telling me about, but healing from those things, whether you go through a program like a Landmark, or you go through a therapist, or you get a coach, or you do a retreat, uh, just don't stay stuck is the main thing. Just don't stay
Mhm.
stuck. Keep
Exactly.
moving. That's my main thing on TikTok, is like, just keep moving. Just keep moving. The next page, I think we have, there is a Gloria Beth Caldwell. And yeah,
Yes.
so she is a
Yes.
cutie. She is so cute. So tell us a little bit about Gloria.
Gloria, I love myself some Gloria
I love
Betts
that green she got
Caldwell.
on too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
she's
green is popping.
killing the green.
Hmm.
And look, I know this is a recurring theme. I met Gloria at the Leadership Experience Tour in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit got it
And
going on.
it is. And I remember interviewing her. I am the interviewer for the Beyond the Stage studio at the tour, and she comes in and we have this conversation, and you could feel the energy. She's also a soror of mine, and we had this energy going back and forth. After leaving Detroit, we ended up having a couple of conversations, and she is also my client, but
Okay.
through and she's in she was in the life coaching for business builders program, and through
Mhm.
that program she was able to launch from scratch her platform, which is knockout mentality. And she
Mhm.
uses in this picture she probably had on her boxing boots. She uses boxing as the metaphor for all of her coaching. And
Mhm.
she gets
Uh,
up in the morning, she goes and she works out, she does a sparring, she does all the things. She's a powerful woman. She's also one of my ambassadors for the Refueled and On Fire. When you talk to Gloria, she's going to feed into your life, and you're going to leave empowered and ready to knock out whatever is coming your way.
and she's on Instagram at the knockout mentality. That is her theme. I love people that brand really well.
Mhm.
They brand really well. Those are that it's consistent, and you kind of get them in terms of that. So I love that. So this young lady here, she wanted to be in this particular issue because of she is a corporate leader who is now like a speaker and a coach, and she had a business in corporate America that really talked about Black women and breastfeeding. And
Mhm.
her background, she's a science girl like you. She she's a engineer, science, really super smart, and she was really going up the track in a corporate career. But it was like when she had her children, she just felt like I needed to do something more. And one of the things that a problem she wanted to solve was about breastfeeding and working and that kind of thing. Anyway, this little business blew up, right, to $1 million business, and she realized that she just had a knack for taking an idea and bringing it to fruition. So she's coaching other women, especially women, that want to do this business type of thing that they have in their heart. They want to leave corporate world, but they got to replace the income. So how do they do it? So that is really the thing. She's hailing from the Texas area. I want to say from Dallas. She has an MBA. Industrial engineering is what she's in. So she's got an industrial engineering and an MBA. Okay, so girl is like on fire in terms of that. And one of the things that she talks to her audiences about breaking bad, meaning like breaking out of the mold. Being that girl boss, kind of like with you.
Mhm.
So if she hasn't reached out to you, she said that she would because she wanted to be in this issue with you. That's the other thing. You can meet people in the hallway, YB, or you can
Yep.
meet through the magazine.
Yep.
Just say, hey, we met in the hallway in the
Yep.
magazine, right? So
Yep.
all their contact information is there. So
It's in the magazine. Yep. And
you
that's how Dr. Pam and I met. So I met Brian Olds at
Mhm.
what is it?
Power networking.
Yeah, Power Networking Conference in the DC area. Marshall Fox was my guy, and Marshall introduced me to Brian, and then Brian walked me all over to Pam right around the corner, and me and Pam just hit it off. So that's how I'm telling you. If you just go to events, if you just put yourself in miracle territory, you're gonna attract people. And here's the thing: you attract who you are, not what
Mhm.
you want. So that's why personal and professional development is so critical because you're like, well, why am I not attracting the right people? Well, you might need to check yourself.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
I love the fact that you were able to connect with these folks at these various events,
yeah.
Dr. Marcea.
Yeah.
Yes. And then also too, I always say those that show up go up. So just showing up is
Hmm.
just half the battle. Don't
Hmm.
hide, show up. And the thing about people who are quote unquote introverts, it's like, oh, I don't know if I should go to events. The
Hmm.
one piece of advice that always tell people when they go to networking events, show up as a host and not a guest, meaning that show up
Mm.
to just help.
Yes.
Even if you're helping people, if it's winter time, it's like this is where you put your coats. Or you see young ladies walking around and looking lost. It's like, oh, you're looking for the restroom. I mean, act like the host and not the guest. Don't sit
Hmm.
there and waiting to be served, but you go to serve. And
Yes.
that will take the pressure off of you of going to an event and feeling like I don't know how to network. No, you're going there to serve. Just sit when
Right.
you can, walk up to people and say, what do you do? How can I support you? That's really the thing. How can I support you? People are just
Hmm.
like, oh my God, someone is really interested in what I'm doing. So make sure that you do that as well. The other
And
thing
introverts actually make the best networkers. They
they
make the best networkers. Why? Because they do the things that extrovert don't do enough of, and
mhm,
that's listen.
Listen. Hmm.
Yeah, just listen. So.
they do listen. And then also too, if you go to speakersmagazine.com as well, if you can put that up there, Monet, you could see the interview with Denise as well. She talks a little bit further about her journey and that kind of thing, where she helps millennial women, millennial moms, to really just step out and spark and just break out of the things that are holding them back so they can be in full bloom. Let me say that again, right? The next page talks about Brian, and April was Financial Literacy Month. So he wrote an article, Beyond the Fee. Monet, if we could change that channel, building financial security as a professional speaker.
Hmm.
And that is so important because a lot of times we think that just being a professional speaker, you're only going to make money from those keynote
Hmm.
uh, platform transactions, but he's saying that there's other ways that you need to really make sure that if you're going to be a professional speaker, how to really have that financial resilience. So he talks about that there. So that's Brian there as well. The next page is actually, she was in Speakers Magazine probably last year, and she's a professional speaker. She's an educator. She is a DTM too, Dr. Marcia. She's doing the most. I mean, she's got a whole lot of things going on. She's got an MBA, she a PhD, the, and she just launched a lip line. I'm like, okay, girl, let's do it. So in her years, she had been also doing selling cosmetics with a sales direct company, and she was making a lot of money with that. And she was a sales director. She had like 130 women in her unit, as well as being a teacher, professor, dean, all those things. But now she has her own lip line, and she's north of 50. So when you talk about people, it's like, well, you know what? I can do these things. And so
Hmm.
she has just launched it like last week. And she says already her website is blowing up in terms of women that buying the lip colors and things like that. And I said, well, how do you do it? Her main thing, her interview is going to be on the thing. And she says, well, I just do what I love. She says, she says, I was born, and like what you said about something that you're born with that maybe when you were just growing into it. She says, I had really full lips. She had really full lips, and I was always teased. She said, but I grew to love them. My parents just said, that's just part of who you are.
Hmm.
And so the one asset that she has is that when she does her thing, she has full lips. So the lipsticks pop on her, right? Versus someone who doesn't. And so the thing that you thought wasn't really the thing that was like an asset really is your superpower.
Right.
And so part
Yes.
of her superpower as well. So that's one of the main things. Yeah. So we all have those things. We all have those things.
Hmm.
And then the last page really just is going into May, and there's an event that's coming up in May. We usually have the back cover of the month before, which Marcia was the back cover because Refueled and on Fire, that is April. So she was the back of March, and so this Sade is the back cover of April, and her event is coming up in June, and so she's going to be the cover of May. So, and then Kim Fields was the cover in 2020 as well. But she has one that says, "Girl, your brand's a big deal." So that's one of the things too. So Sade's is coming up, and I love the fact that these speakers are just creating their own platforms. Like this is a thing. It's a lot of work, Marcy. You know, we all know doing your own event is a lot of work. I mean, because you
Yes.
can just like you know, but doing your own events is really like the best thing. If we can go to the cover on Monet, uh, yeah, the thing that but tell us, yeah. So tell us a little bit about the 27th, where they can go again in order to get tickets to Refueled and on Fire and what they can expect.
Yes, absolutely. So April 27th, it is refueled and on fire. Come into the Baltimore area. And it's a stage event. So there's going to be speakers that are coming that are going to give you their story, their transformation. And you're going to be able to glean some practical tips to take your life to the next level. But come for the networking. Okay. I have the host of Be More Lifestyle on Fox 45, Mark Clark. He is coming. His wife is actually also a newscaster in DC, Allison Seymour. He will be coming to the stage. I also have Sharon Morton, who is our BDS president and founder, first founder, and she will be coming. She is a Sirius XM radio host. Her show is Skin Deep Radio, which is on channel 144, which is the HUR Voices on Howard University's campus. I also have Sean Fair from the Leadership Experience Tour. I've talked about him a bit today. He is coming. He's also one of my sponsors, and he is gifting something major to one of our speakers. I have Dr. Eric, who is coming from Power 4.4. I have Dr. Tammy Harris. She is a seven-figure um, she is a real estate agent broker who's also coming to the stage. Dr. Lethea Tucker. I have Shelly Fan, who's in the magazine, as also Pastor Anthony D. Shannon, who's also going to be one of the MCs. Okay, so all of this in the room. I also have Dr. Larry White Sr., who is coming, who is a big networker in the area. I have sponsors, Allstate Insurance, Aaron Slater Jr. I have Black Door Society, SiriusXM, Leadership Experience Tour, RBH Consulting, Rita's Water Ice, and my newest sponsor is Miss Corporate America. Okay, lunch is included. There's going to be some more surprises. I keep saying, just get in the room. All you have to do is walk across that threshold. And whether you are a speaker, whether you are an author, whether you are an entrepreneur in a different space, the connections are there. The connectors are there. Get into the room and network, and your next project, your next event, your next entrepreneurial idea is in the room.
There you go. I love it. I love it. And that's one of the things too. You got Anthony Shannon there. He's gonna bring a ball of fire, just period. Coming from Detroit. He's your alpha brother too, I believe.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he is. He is. I don't know. He is. He's wild and on fire. He's a pastor as well,
Mhm.
and he kind of give you a little bit. You know, I knew he was a pastor. I've known him a long time, but it wasn't until he's about 40. He turned 40, and he said, "I got a call." I said, "You got a call?" He says, "Yeah, I'm going to be a pastor." I said, "Okay." He said, "You're not surprised?" I said, "No, I knew it." That's one of my gifts. I kind of know when people have a call on their life, and so when they tell me, and it's like, okay. And so my company's name is Ministry Marketing Solutions. So we helped him at the beginning with all his branding and all that kind of stuff. So seeing him do all the things that he's doing now is just really blessing. But you can tell when people have a call, they might necessarily have a church, but you know that they have a
Mhm.
call.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I just really enjoy, seeing people's callings come in their dreams come into fruition to help each other and to network and connect.
Mhm.
And that's really like the synergy of that is just mind blowing, and it just really grows. So Dr. Marcia, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being the cover girl for the month of April here. There we go. Yes, yes, you got a big board and all that kind of stuff, doing the TikToks, doing all the things. So definitely, Rodney C. Burris will be there on my behalf, and he will be giving me pictures and taking things behind the scenes, and we'll also still be promoting you the day of your event as well. So Rodney C. Burris, who was a cover and part of BSN and part of our family of all that of Ready Set Go Speak, but he will be there taking pictures and doing interviews and things like that for the conference. So I'm so proud of you and so excited for you. So thank you so much for joining us today and being that role model, that cover girl for us that we can actually aspire to and be in full bloom, just like we're supposed to be this spring. All righty. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Pam, for having me, and for Rob for being here.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing Rodney in your stead, and for your listeners, you can also go to Eventbrite and just type in Refueled and On Fire.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Marcea Burnette Whitaker. All right. Take care. God bless you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Simone.